Making headlines this hour, government urges the opposition to respect rules and regulations even when exercising the right to peaceful protest and assembly. Officials from Ministry of Health visits Pakistan, holds discussion to strengthen pharmaceutical regulation and enhance supply chains. And Minister Ali Hassan reveals that authorities have arrested 1,580 suspects and more than 700 kilograms of drugs have been seized in the past 18 months. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Idham Naim. The government urges the opposition to respect the established rules and regulations even when exercising the right to peaceful protest and assembly, describing it as essential to maintaining the norms and principles of democracy in society. Chief spokesperson of the President's office, Hina Walid, was responding to accusations by the main opposition Maldivian Democratic Party MDP that the government had impeded its request to hold a political rally in the capital Male. Hina, in a post on social media, acknowledged that responsible political engagements and advocating for matters of national interest are essential to establish the foundation of a full-fledged democracy in the Maldives. She pointed out that previously peaceful assembly was only permitted in the carnival area in the east of Male without prior permissions. However, this administration had designated 3 additional areas to facilitate peaceful gatherings, including the Rasfano area, Male Southwest Reclaimed Area, and the Usfaskando area, she said. However, gatherings in other areas will require a written approval from the Maldives Police Service. Hina urged opposition leaders to stop misleading the public, insisting that respecting the rules and regulations even when exercising the freedom of expression and assembly were crucial to maintaining rule of law and the prevalence of democracy. A senior delegation from the Ministry of Health conducts an official visit to Islamabad, Pakistan, where it engaged in high-level consultations with the Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan, DRAP, as part of a broader initiative to strengthen pharmaceutical regulation and enhance the efficiency of supply chains. The discussions, according to the ministry, centered on 4 priority areas: reinforcing bilateral regulatory cooperation, advancing quality assurance protocols for medicinal products, improving systems governing pharmaceutical imports and exports, and identifying opportunities for capacity building within the Maldivian health sector. The Health Ministry said the delegation's itinerary also included a meeting with representatives of the Pakistan Pharmaceutical Association, a move aimed at deepening institutional ties and aligning regulatory frameworks between the 2 nations. The delegation also met with senior officials from Pakistan's Nursing and Midwifery Council and the university, where discussions centered on developing nursing competencies and establishing training programs to strengthen the professional capacity of the nursing workforce. The visit marked a step in the ministry's wider campaign to address persistent medicine shortages in the country. Officials pointed to a marked increase in pharmaceutical imports and presented plans designed to streamline access to essential medicines across the country. Among the measures outlined by the administration of President Dr. Mohammad Moizu is the development of an uninterrupted medicine supply system intended to reduce public complaints and ensure consistent availability. Under the plan, all medications required by inpatients, the ministry said, will be administered directly through hospital systems, removing the need for patients to obtain treatments independently. According to the ministry, the model is on track to become fully operational in all regional and tertiary hospitals by the year end, with a phased implementation continuing at additional healthcare institutions. Minister of Homeland Security and Technology Ali Ihsan reveals that the authorities have arrested 1,580 suspects and more than 700 kilograms of drugs have been seized in the past 18 months. Sharing the latest updates on the government's ongoing efforts to tackle the drug pandemic in the Maldives, Minister Ihsan said the primary aim is to reduce the volume of drugs smuggled into the country. The minister offered some statistics on the efforts made under the ministry to curb the amount of imports and circulation. According to Minister Ihsan, in the past 18 months or so, 726 kilograms of drugs have been seized along with 14,200 bottles of alcohol with a combined street value of 90.8 million US dollars. He added that 1,580 people have been arrested and prosecuted in 275 operations to curb drug trafficking in the Maldives during the past 18 months. To complement the crackdown on drug trade, the government, according to the minister, is also working to strengthen the country's drug treatment and rehabilitation system to curb the number of drug users. The minister said the top priority in this area this year and the next will be to establish adequate rehabilitation facilities and train people. In line with this effort, the National Drug Agency (NDA) has tasked the state-owned Road Development Corporation to build drug rehabilitation centers in 3 islands. RDC has been awarded the contract by NDA to build the rehab centers in Velidu Noon Atoll, Kashidu Kaf Atoll, and Gang Lam Atoll. According to the minister, the government is also in the process of amending the Drug Act to bring a permanent solution to the pandemic, which will include the asset seizures of drug traffickers to be used in drug trafficking prevention operations and to strengthen the drug treatment and rehabilitation system. Government publicizes the regulation of correctional centers for juvenile offenders established under the Juvenile Justice Act. Maldives Correctional Services have been tasked with the management of the 2 types of centers that will be established under the new regulation, including juvenile detention centers and long-term secure facilities. According to the regulation, juveniles convicted of minor criminal offences will be placed in juvenile detention centers, while juvenile offenders of serious crimes will serve their incarceration in long-term secure facilities in isolation from society. However, both types of centers must be established separately from adult detention centers and should be appropriate to the age of the children and the offense committed. The regulation mandates authorities to guarantee religious, social, educational, mental health and physical care and protection for minors serving sentences in these centers. The responsibilities of the centers include taking all necessary measures for the safety of security of children, maintaining the general condition of children in detention, monitoring the behavior of children, and maintaining the security of the premises. The centers are also responsible for taking necessary action against children who violate the rules and ensuring the protection of their human rights, while also planning and implementing various rehabilitation programs to facilitate the integration of such children back into society. Under the regulation, a special unit will be established in the Maldives Correctional Services to monitor the affairs of minors incarcerated in juvenile correctional centers and juvenile offenders released on probation or parole. The officers working in this unit must be of both sexes with special education and training to work with children. Under current law, criminal responsibility applies to those aged 15 to 18. However, the government has decided to lower the age of criminal responsibility from 15 to 12 years as a part of reforms to the juvenile justice system. The Ministry of Education says that the government will honor the best students of the 2023 and 2024 secondary and higher secondary examinations due to the volume of students being honored this year. The ceremony will be scheduled to be held at the Social Center and will take place in 5 sessions across the 2 days. The ceremony will include the presentation of the Presidential Prize for the first place students in O-Level and A-Level, the Presidential Scholarship for the first place students in A-Level, and the High Achievement Scholarship for the students who have achieved A pass or above. More than 1,800 students who have achieved the best results in the secondary and higher secondary examinations will receive the awards at the ceremony, the ministry said. In the 2022-2023 higher secondary examinations, 376 students have made it to the national top 10 with the best results. A total of 441 students were honored, including those who were placed in the ward top 10 in the secondary examinations. This year's A-level examination ended on 11th June with a total of 8,362 students sitting the exams across the country. These include the 7,666 students who sat for the Cambridge IGCE A-level examination and 7,519 students who sat for the SSC examination. Central Bank Maldives Monetary Authority MMA figures shows both the construction sector and the real estate sector are estimated to have observed growths in annual terms during the first quarter of the year. According to MMA's quarterly economic bulletin, the import expenditure on construction-related items rose by 16%, while commercial bank credit to the construction sector registered an annual increase of 13% during the review quarter. The growth in commercial bank credit, the report said, was mainly owing to the rise in credit provided for real estate of residential or housing projects, construction of property development projects, construction of other projects, renovation of resorts, and construction of commercial buildings. The growth was partly offset by the significant decline observed in credit, the report said, extended to construction of residential or housing projects, as well as credit extended to other real estate projects. In addition to construction, the mainstays of Maldives' economy, tourism and fisheries had also posted growth in the first quarter of 2025. During the first quarter of 2025, fish purchases totaled 24,902.3 metric tons, posting an annual growth of 5% when compared with the corresponding quarter last year. As for tourism, total tourist arrival reached 632,422 during the first quarter, the highest ever tourist arrivals recorded during a quarter, with total tourist arrivals increasing in both annual and quarterly terms. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says his country will soon adopt tariff measures to address risks associated with a persistent global overcapacity and unfair trade in steel and aluminium.
US President Donald Trump this month doubled the tariffs on imports of steel and aluminium to 50%. The move could hurt Canada, which is the largest seller of the metals to the US. Carney, saying the tariffs were destabilizing markets, said Canada would establish a new tariff rate quotas of 100% of 2024 levels on imports of steel products from non-free trade agreement partners to stabilize the domestic market and prevent harmful trade diversion.
Canadian leadership will be defined not just by the strength of our values, but also by the value of our strength. The world wants to do much more, and work much more closely with Canada, and we're ready. Now, on Monday morning, I, with colleagues, met with President Trump to discuss international priorities as part of the G7, but also to further negotiate a new economic and security partnership between Canada and the United States. And as we've said repeatedly, we'll take all the time we need to get the best deal for Canada, but no longer. And seeing progress that's been made, President Trump and I agreed to pursue negotiations towards a deal within the coming 30 days. We'll continue these negotiations, of course, in good faith.
Carney said on June 16th he had agreed with Trump that the two nations should try to wrap up a new economic and security deal within 30 days. Canada will adjust its existing counter tariffs on U.S. steel and aluminium products on July 21st to levels consistent with progress made in talks, Carney said, without giving details.
Oil prices falls but remains on course for a third consecutive weekly rise after the White House delayed a decision on U.S. involvement in the Israel-Iran conflict. Brent crude futures LCO C1 fell $1.57 or around 2% to $77.28 a barrel by 8:15 GMT. They were still set to gain nearly 4% on the week. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude for July CLC1, which did not settle on Thursday as it was a U.S. holiday and expires on Friday, was up 52% or 0.7% to $75.66. The more liquid August contract CLC2 was up around 0.8% or 56 cents to $74.06. On June 19, prices jumped almost 3% after Israel bombed nuclear targets in Iran, while Iran, OPEC's third largest producer, fired missiles and drones at Israel. Neither side showed any sign of backing down in the week-old war. Brent prices trimmed gains after the White House said President Donald Trump would decide whether the U.S. will get involved in the Israel-Iran conflict in the next 2 weeks. Russian nuclear energy chief Alexei Likachev says that the situation at Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant, where hundreds of Russian specialists work, was quote normal and under control.
The Israeli military said at one point on Thursday that it had struck the Russian-built Bushehr facility, but later said the comment had been made by mistake. Likachev, head of the State Nuclear Energy Corporation Rosatom, said on Thursday that any attack on the plant could cause a Chernobyl-style nuclear disaster. Bushehr is Iran's only operating nuclear power plant and uses Russian fuel that Russia then takes back when it is spent to reduce a proliferation risk. Asked about the situation at Bushehr, Likachev told reporters, quote, "So far, the situation is completely under control. Everything is normal. The night passed on the usual anxious but manageable atmosphere," unquote. The pre-mobilization comment appears to refer to the possibility of evacuating staff in the event of an emergency. Russian President Vladimir Putin said this week that Russia has up to 600 staff at Bushehr, including 250 permanent workers and others on temporary assignment. He said Israel had issued a promise to Russia over their safety. Likachev said on Thursday that some of those on assignment had been evacuated, but the core staff remained for now. Russia, which has close ties with Iran, has warned strongly against a U.S. military intervention on the side of Israel in the air war that began a week ago. Israel has stated that it launched strikes on Iran to prevent it from obtaining a nuclear weapon. Iran, which denies such an intention, has responded with drone and missile attacks on Israeli cities.
Chinese state broadcaster CCTV reports that rescue personnel evacuated residents as flooding triggered by heavy rains inundated several cities and towns across southern China's Hunan and Hubei provinces.
Central and southern China were on high alert for more flash floods on Friday as the annual East Asia monsoon gathered pace and extreme rainfall threatened disruption in the world's second largest economy. On June 19th, heavy rain in southern Hunan triggered the largest floods since 1998 in the upper and lower reaches of the Liu Shui River, after its water levels breached the safety mark by more than 2 meters. Red alerts, the first for this year, were issued late on June 19th, covering the provinces of Anhui, Henan, Hubei, Hunan, Guizhou, and Guangxi region, state news agency Xinhua reported, citing the Water Resources Ministry and National Weather Forecaster. China is experiencing heavy and sudden rain in many parts, which meteorologists have attributed to climate change, leaving its huge population vulnerable to related disasters.
Obi Toppin scored 20 points off the beach to lead a balanced offensive effort as the Indiana Pacers evened the NBA Finals with a 108-91 win over the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 6 in Indianapolis. The finals will go to a winner-take-all seventh game for the first time since 2016, with Game 7 on Sunday in Oklahoma City. There was little drama as Indiana jumped ahead in the first quarter and never relinquished the lead. Andrew Nembhard added 17 points while Pascal Siakam had 16 points and 13 rebounds to move the Pacers within one win of their first NBA title. Tyrese Halliburton, playing through a calf injury, had 14 points and 5 assists, and TJ McConnell contributed 12 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals.
He's super important to us, and I think the big thing was there wasn't a lot of drama. The drama was created, in the press somewhat because there's a lot of talk about it. That kind of it was not coming from him. He was straightforward. He didn't want a lot of attention. He was doing everything possible to be able to play, and then, fortunately, we were able to keep his minutes reasonable because we had a great first half and a good start to the third quarter. So, one game. I mean, this is what it's all about. I mean, this is what you dream about growing up. This kind of opportunity. It's a very difficult place to play. We know that, but this is the opportunity to play in a game like this is a great honor and a great privilege.
Indiana forced 21 turnovers. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander led the Thunder with 21 points, but had a playoff career, worst 8 turnovers and just 2 assists. Helen Williams, who scored 40 points in the game, finished with just 16 points. Trailing by 30 entering the final quarter, Thunder coach Mark Daigneault pulled his starters, opting to save them for the decider. Armed with a rake and measuring equipment, 20-year-old artist Pierre-Louis Collier strolls onto a wide sandy beach on France's Atlantic coast. A few hours of walks later, an intricate mandala, a complex circular design common in Hinduism and Buddhism, appears on the smooth sand, merging with an outcrop of seaweed-covered rocks. Collier says he began sketching designs on sand rather than paper at 14 years old, and now 6 years later he continues his craft both personally and professionally. Creating the mandala design is a kind of meditation that Collier finds relaxing. He got the inspiration to begin creating artworks on beaches after seeing other artists do the same online. Visitors to the beach stop by to admire the work and ask questions. Collier said the art it allowed to meet people, to have more exchanges. His hobby also turned profitable. He accepts commissions to do corporate logos on the sand for marketing purposes. Collier said even though his designs are eventually washed away by the sea, he does not get frustrated. That concludes news for now. Thank you for watching PSM News. Have a good day.